Hello, my name's Claire. I run the Paint Pottle in Market Harbour, and today I'm going to run you through how to paint this mug. It's an Italian-inspired design, sort of Italian maiolica. And maiolica is a design that originated in medieval Islamic world, where they learnt how to create an opaque white glaze which covered terracotta, so red earthenware, and then that allowed them to apply oxides on top so that the colour of those oxides and those glazes were much brighter and more colourful. That technique made its way over to Europe via trading routes such as Majorca, hence the name maiolica, and then into France and Germany, where it's known as faience, and in Holland, where it became Delftware, and England, where in Victorian times it turned into majolica. So that's the kind of very bright, sometimes gaudy Victorian pottery that we know. The design that I'm going to show you today will go straight onto our pottery, so we don't need to cover it with the white glaze first. We're going straight on with the colours because today's glazes are much more stable, and then when you return it to us, we're going to dip glaze it with a clear glaze so that it's all nice and food safe once it's fired. So in your pack you will hopefully have pots of paint, a little box which has got a sponge, brushes, and some templates in. You will have paper to put down on the table, so I'll just do that. The paint is completely non-toxic and washes off everything, so don't worry if it gets on your clothes or anywhere, but let's work on some paper to try and save you a cleaning job. You'll also need a tin or a glass or a bowl of water to wash your brush in, and a little plate to put the paint on when we need to water it down. So I'll put those there. Now the mug that you've got, you'll also have written instructions as well, and you'll have something that looks a little bit like this that shows you the design that I drew out. There'll also be some pictures of the finished mugs online as well. And you'll also have your mug. Now what we've done is we've very lightly we've drawn some pencil lines on it. Now these are guidelines to help you with your spacing, and I'll come to that in a minute. You'll also have a water-based marker, felt tip in your pack as well, and that's what you're going to use to draw out your design to start off with. I'm going to use pencil because I haven't got felt tip. So the first thing that you're going to do is draw out your design. Now I am going to use these templates just to show you, because they're quite useful if you're not used to drawing freehand. So you can just literally draw around them. Now the felt tip that you've got, because it's water-based, it'll burn away in the kiln when we fire the pottery. So don't worry if you go wrong, it won't be there in the end. So this is the middle sort of section bit where we're going to write a message or a name, and then above the message, and you'll see this centre line that I've created, we're going to place the hearts. So they go one above, so you can draw around this. You could just do it very roughly because we're going to paint it anyway. Like this. And then upside down, we're going to do another one again on that centre line underneath the little label bit that we've just drawn. Like this. So you should have your label in the middle and your hearts top and bottom. And then you're going to draw on this section here. So we've marked off an area on the side to the handle. So it's this bit here that we're going to draw on, and we are going to draw this little pattern here. Now this is based on an Italian motif. It's sort of fronds, sort of floral thing. So we're going to copy that onto your mug. And if I show you, again, don't worry too much if you're not happy with it, because again, the pen's going to burn away and we're going to paint over the top, so you can make amendments then. So we're going to do one sort of swirly line up, and then across from here, start here, and we do a swirly line that crosses over itself and comes back down again. Then we're going to do another frond coming in here, one that comes here, and then we're going to create these sort of butterfly wing shapes coming at the top and the bottom. Okay, so that's that one. And then we'll do the reverse on the other side. So like this, one coming in here. Oh, I did that in the wrong place, hold on. It goes swirly like this, and then butterfly wing here, butterfly wing here. Okay, so you've got your two side designs. Then we're going to work back to the middle. So you've got your label area, you've got your hearts, and then we've done some little sort of very faint circle lines here for you to follow to do on here. You've got these little leaf fronds coming out from the heart. So that's what they look like on the actual mug. So they come out from the bottom of the heart and round to the side, and then you've just got some little leaves coming off and one at the end, and we'll do the same coming off here. Again, it can be quite rough because we're going to paint over it anyway. And then the same here, so you've got your stem coming out, leaf at the end, and then pairs of leaves coming off the stem, and then from the bottom of the heart round, leaf at the end, pairs of leaves coming off there. So now you've got your rough design on your mug ready to move to the paint. So what you'll have in your pack is a small paintbrush. At this point, I should also mention your sponge is, in case you make a mistake with the paint, you can damp it down, give it a good squeeze out so it's not dripping wet, and if you make a mistake you can wipe the paint off the pottery. Hopefully it'll be fine, but that's there just in case. So the first thing we're going to do is work on this, I don't know whether you can see it here, this very faint yellow line will go very, very bright. What happens is when the pottery goes in the kiln, these colours are going to burst and become much, much brighter. As the paint dries, you'll see that it dries very pale. Don't be put off by that. Don't worry about it. It will be much brighter when it's fired. So we're going to choose your yellow pot of paint. What we're going to do is each time we're going to load the brush with plenty of paint. So it's not dripping, but you've got plenty of paint on there. And then I'm going to hold the mug by putting my hand inside. And I'm going to use, there's a little lip here that you can see, and then one at the bottom as well. And I'm going to use that to guide me around the top. This kind of, these two yellow lines frame our design. So start off at the handle, and we're going to go, just follow that line around. So we're not going right at the top, we're just going underneath that little lip, and we're going to load up our brush each time we do a section, And can you see how I'm sort of holding my brush almost vertically? And that means that I have more control over the brush and it's a thinner line. So we're going to go round. Keep loading up, because that means that the paint is nice and thick and it'll be a much brighter colour when it's fired. So keep going. So very lightly, just use the tippy toe of the brush. So it's just the tippy toe that's working the paint all the way around to the other side. I'm going to join mine up across the top. Now, I've applied that quite thick. If you don't think you've applied it thick enough, you can do another layer. Just let it dry in between and you will see that actually the paint is almost dry. Can you see in places it's shiny where it's still wet, and as that shine disappears, you see here it's a little bit shiny, it goes sort of like a matte. So then you know that it's touch dry, and that's when it's ready for a second layer. I'm not going to do a second layer because I put mine on quite thick. I'm going to move to the bottom. So again, I'm going to start at the handle and I'm just going to use that lip to guide me to create a straightish line. Now it's a hand-painted mug, so you can get away with it being not absolutely perfect. We'll keep going. Keep loading up that brush so you've got plenty of paint on it. Use the tippy toe. Keep going round till it joins back up. So that's your first step. Then you're going to give your brush a little wash in the water. And move on to the blue colour. Now, the blue gets used quite a lot. It is going to paint these motifs. It's going to outline our label. It's actually going to finish off the mug with this little dash design, which is very traditional in medieval Italian maiolica. And then we're going to use it to sort of dot around. Oh, what I also should have said is at this stage, if you are comfortable writing your own label, so you might want to do a little message. We did Italian messaging. Or it could be a name, or it could be an insult. I don't mind what it is. If you are comfortable with trying it yourself, do that now. Because if you go wrong, you can wipe it off more easily. If you're not, we are more than happy to do this for you. All you have to do is on your instruction sheet that you return with your pottery, with your name and contact number on it, leave us your instructions for what message you'd like on your mug. So I'm actually going to leave that for now. But you are going to start to paint the label and the motifs. The way that we do that is actually we're going to take our nice clean brush. We're going to scoop some of the blue paint out of the pot onto your plate. And then we're going to add a little bit of water, which all I do is dip the brush into the water and plop it onto the plate so that we're watering down some of that blue paint. Okay. And what this is going to do is create a sort of shadow for us underneath a darker blue line, and we're going to do the same with the green leaves as well, but for now we're doing the blue. So once you've got some nice watery blue, load up your brush again. Again, we're going to use the tiptoe, and we're just going to very roughly outline our label area. Like this. And the same with our fronds. Now, again, try and use the tippy toe of your brush. And can you see for each stroke I'm loading up with more paint. And we'll just outline those butterfly bits as well. So it's quite rough, but this kind of gives like a shadow to the elements, so it's just a little bit more interesting, and it gives you a chance just to make sure that it's quite difficult to be free with your strokes. I paint a lot, so I find it easier. You have to be quite confident. So this gives you a little chance to kind of practice a bit. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, because again, we're going to go on with that darker blue on top. But this just gives another little bit of detail. Okay, so that's your watery blue. And already it's dry. So at this stage, we're going to give our brush a little wash out and dry it on the paper. This is useful in between colours because you can see that it's absolutely clean, and we don't want to water the paint down unless we purposely want to. So this takes the water out of the brush so that the paint's nice and thick. So then once that's dry, you go back into the pot of blue paint, the nice thick paint, load up your brush, and then we're going to go back over the watery blue paint with the thick blue paint. So again, almost use the paintbrush vertically, hold it quite low, and just let that tippy toe do the work. I don't know, can you see this yet? So it's a very thin line, and I work from the edges and then I join up. So can you see we've got a darker line over the top of the watery line. And for each stroke, go back for more paint, and that means that you've got plenty of paint, so you get a nice thick line of paint, and that's going to be much brighter, more solid colour. So you get work from the edges again, so from that corner down and from this corner back up. So there we go, we've got our label outlined. And we're going to repeat the same process for the fronds. So again, just the very tippy toe, and by using the tippy toe of the brush, I get a nice fine line. Keep loading up with paint. If you can do these in one stroke, it's better. The curly bits I tend to break down. If you break up your strokes, it looks a bit bitty. Okay, so you've got your fronds done, and then these butterfly wings are actually going to be painted in solid blue. There we go, that's one. Plenty of paint on your brush again. Two. You see I've left a little bit of that watery blue, like a shadow, and these wings are going to have a second layer of paint on them. Ideally you wait till the paint has dried, so again that shine there needs to disappear, and then it's dry enough to do a second layer. I'm not going to wait, I'm just going to prop it on top. If you want, you can pause this at any time while you do your layering. we go. So you can see you've got your little bit of shadow and then your nice thick blue line on top. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So tippy toe for the fronds. Take your time doing this. It's nice to get the nice thin lines. And while you're doing this, I hope you're drinking your Italian hot chocolate. I love hot chocolate, and Italian hot chocolate is my favourite. I like it very thick. After Italian, I do like French hot chocolate. And I like a hot chocolate with Cointreau in it as well. So you've got your solid butterfly wings with a second coat of paint, so they'll be nice and bright and solid when it's fired. So once you've finished your blue, give your brush a good slosh around in the water. Again, dry it on the paper so you know all the colours gone. And now what we're going to do is work on the leaf bits that come out from the bottom of the hearts. We're going to do the same process with the watery paint first, and then on top we're going to fill these leaves in and do a slightly more solid stem. So same process with the green. We're going to add a little bit of water from our bowl or a glass or whatever you're using for your water. Load up your brush, and then with the tippy toe, work out. Again, it can be very rough because it's sort of like a shadow. It's almost not there really, but it allows us to add a bit more detail and have a practice at those strokes. So the leaves, you can see how roughly I'm kind of doing these with this watery paint. And sometimes these paintbrushes leave quite a good leaf shape if you just plop them down. That's one side done. And move to this side. Again, if I'm going too fast, just pause the video, catch up, and then I'll move on to the next bit. So, watery leaves first. It doesn't matter if these are a little bit bigger than you want them to be, because then we'll get that nice shadowy look behind them. So that's the watery layer. We want to dry off our brush a little bit again, because again, remember we want the paint to be nice and thick now. So going into the thick green paint, load up your brush, and then again using that tippy toe, you can work quite slowly in order to get this. We can work forwards and backwards to get this nice thick green line. Thick paint rather than thick in width. We want a thin width, thick in terms of the amount of paint that we're using. And then the same going over these shadowy leaves with some thicker layers. And this is where you can add a bit more definition to the shape of your leaf. for every leaf or two, probably every leaf, I would go back for more paint. And the more paint that's on your brush, the easier it is to move it around and get that shape that you want. Again, remember to use that tippy toe, get a nice thin line. Here's my first set, and we'll move around to the other side. Kind of teardrop shapes, or I don't know, what's that shape called? Pointy oval. Leaf shape. There we go. Don't know whether you can hear, it's raining outside. It's quite nice, quite relaxing. Hopefully you're feeling quite relaxed painting. Lots of people tell me that they love doing pottery painting. It helps you to slow down a little bit, and you can't really think of too much else while you're concentrating on your painting. It's like a marquee diamond shape, some of these leaves. Some are pointy and some are round. Again, it's hand painted, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It's more about enjoying the moment. There we go. And we've got our leafy bits either side of our label. So that's that step complete. Let's move on to our hearts now. So we're going to wash our brush off and take our red paint. Again, dry your brush on the paper. Load up plenty of paint onto your brush. Now with the hearts, we're not doing a watery line, we're just going straight on with the red, and we want them to be nice and bright and solid. So plenty of paint. And on these, we're going to do a good 2 layers, possibly 3, depends how generous you are with applying your paint. I'm fairly generous. Again, plenty of practice. There we go, that's one. More paint. You'll notice that I am going over some of the areas that I've painted already. Now, because we're doing a good couple of layers on these hearts, that colour will cover any colour underneath it. So plenty of paint on your brush. It's much easier to move it around where you want it to go and let the brush do all the work if your paint's thick. So that's my first layer. You can have a little break now, take a sip of your hot chocolate, enjoy your biscuits, because that's going to need to dry before you put your next layer on. Mine's going to take a little while to dry because it's quite thick, so I'm just going to go straight on with my second layer. Again, you can pause the video at any time, catch up, and then start it up again. Two nice thick layers. If in doubt, you can always do another layer. So you could do 3 layers. You should have plenty of paint to do that. Okay, so that's the hearts done. Now we're going to move back to, pop your brush in your water, back to your yellow paint. And what should have happened now is that these blue butterfly wings are completely touch dry. So you can take your yellow paint, dip your little finger into the yellow paint, and then dab it on the larger bottom bit of the butterfly wings. And for each dot, you do a dip. So on the other side, we're going to dip and dot, dip and dot. So that's a nice thick layer of paint to cover that blue underneath. I'm doing this on my own mug. If you're painting it with a partner or a friend and you want them to contribute to your mug, you could get them to do that little dot so that you know that they've added their little finger dot to your mug. Okay, so that's that bit. Now, can you see that I'm constantly holding the mug with my hand inside it, which means that I'm not smudging it in any way. We don't paint the handle until last as well, so that means that you can move it around with the handle without risking smudging it as well. So just be aware as you're painting of any wet areas that might smudge. As I said at the beginning, you can always take your sponge if you have smudged, wet it, and then just work away any smudges or little bits that go wrong. Okay, so actually we'll use that sponge to wipe my finger. So after we've done that yellow for the butterfly wings, we're going to move on to a slightly different technique, which is where we're going to take our brush, make sure that it's nice and clean, give it a wipe on the paper so it's dry, and we're actually going to use this end of the brush, so not the tickly end, hard end. And we are going to add some little dots around our mug. Now this means that we're just filling in some of this white space. It's quite nice sometimes to have a bit of breathing space for your design, but this just adds a little bit more detail, and actually by using contrasting colours next to each other, it helps bring the colours out. So you can see here we've added some little red dots here. We've also added some little red splodges at the ends of our fronds. You can actually do that with the brush end if you like, or you can use the hard end. So for our dipping and dotting, using the hard end of the brush, dipping it in the paint, dotting on. So dip for every dot. So I've added some red to my fronds. I'm also going to add some little red bits here. So if I want big dots, I'll do a dip and dot, and then I can achieve smaller dots by just continuing to dot. You see that they decrease in size. I wouldn't go too small because we want that nice thick paint again. So that's where I'm going to put my red dots. You can use your sponge to wipe your brush and then move on to another colour. So you can do what colours you like. As I said before, if you choose colours and place them next to each other so that they're contrasting, it helps both those colours shine better, stand out more. So I'm just going to add some random little yellow dots around. Especially around these blue areas. Brush a little wipe again. And I'm going to add some green around as well. blue. Okay, so I think I'm happy with the way that I've filled those spaces with the little dots. I'll add one in there. So that basically is the majority of the design. Once we've done our little dots, we can go back to using this end of the brush and finish the mug off with this dash design at the top and the bottom, and then lastly on the handle. So we go back to, I like to hold the mug inside. We go back to our blue pot of paint and load up our brush. We're going to choose one direction to take these dashes, and all of them are going to go in the same direction. So again, start at the in line with the handle and do your first stroke. So I'm taking it towards me. It's much easier to bring the brush towards you, so I would recommend that. And then I'm going to load up again, create a space and do another dash, and carry on in that way. And can you see that for every dash I'm going back to load up with paint, because we want these dashes to be nice and thick and bold. So dash and then go back for more paint all the way around. As you turn it, just be careful that you're not smudging it. So it wants to be on a little bit of a slant, so again bring those dashes towards you. And this is just on the lip at the bottom of your mug. It sticks out a little bit. It's actually what we call creates part of the foot of the mug. So as I come back round, I've got a nice ring of dashes. And we're going to, how am I going to do this? How am I going to tell you to do this? I'll still hold it this way, I think. You might find your own way. You might find it easier doing it your own way. No, actually, I lied. We're going to turn it around this way. You can hold it by the handle, or you can wait till this is dried so that you can hold it this way. Just be careful you don't smudge it. So I'm going to hold it by the handle for now. And again, we're going to bring the dashes towards us. So we're going to start at the handle again. And it's actually, can you see it goes over the top slightly as well? So the bottom ones just literally come off the bottom of the mug, whereas these top ones, they're going to come onto the top of the mug as well. You've got it, so you can see that design from the top and the side. And again, just take your time, load up for every one or two, and bring that brush towards you. Turn your mug around. Little diagonal dashes. Might even have a name this this design. I can't remember what it is, but what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of sort of potted history of Maiolica up on the website. I'll put a link to it by this video as well, and if you want to learn more, you can read it there. Okay, all the way around. Oops. Back to the start. So from the top you can see your design, and from the side you can see your design as well. And that leaves the handle. So we always do the handle last. We always do the rims of pottery last as well, in case we sort of smudge them as we're going. I would probably wait till your design is dry. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to show you now. Again, load up your brush with plenty of paint, and we're going to go across the handle. Again, in that sort of diagonal design, straight towards you. Load up for each one. There we go. And that's finished off our mug. There we go. So all you need to do now is close up your paints. You'll probably have some leftover paint. You can return that to us with the pots and the tools, because we kind of recycle all of these things. Don't forget to send your pottery back with your name and contact number, so we can let you know when they've been fired. And once you get your pottery back home, it's good to go in the dishwasher. We don't recommend putting it in the microwave, but the dishwasher is fine. And we hope you'll enjoy lots of lovely hot drinks, and you'll be able to say to people that you decorated your own beautiful mug.